Alright, here's your video on doing some loops. Let's do it by a couple of examples. First one is we'll do some string stuff. Okay, things to remember about loops. You have two basic loops. Your first one is while Boolean condition okay, and your second one is for init keep going increment. Alright, both of these will repeatedly do whatever's in the middle. Whatever's in between those braces, that's the loop body. Alright, with the while loop, it's a little simpler. You check this condition here. If it's true, you do the loop body, and then check the condition again. You repeatedly check the condition, do the loop body. Check the condition, do the loop body. The for loop has a few more steps. First thing is you do the init, whatever's there, some statement. And then as long as the keep going is true, you do the body and then the increment. Keep going, if the keep going is true, do the body, do the increment. You repeatedly check this condition, so it's the same kind of thing where you're checking the condition over and over again, but then there's two different things you do. You do the loop body and then you do the increment. While loop tends to be used when you don't know how long, and a for loop tends to be used when you know exactly how long. Okay? You're going to go through an entire string, or you're going to go through an entire array, or you're going to do something 10 times or 20 times or whatever, and that tends to be a for loop, although you could do it with a while loop just the same. Alright, let's do some examples. Alright, in some of the other one of the other videos and in class we used something called let's say you have a message and you get something into the message. Tell me a word. Okay, and we did something called strlen message. That was something that we used in one of the other videos, which is supposed to be the length of a C string. If you have a C++ string, you just say dot length. Okay, so let's look at this. Alright, there is an strlen function if you include the right thing, but let's just see how it's done, and it's an example of doing a for loop. Okay, if you have some character string, some character array here, message, if you're passing it into a function, so here's message, here's 1,000 characters. If you're passing it into a function, you don't have to say how many characters there are. It'll just mean that this message is really the same as this one. I could call it something else, but it's really going to be the same thing either way. That's what happens when you pass an array. When you pass an array in, what's really happening is this S really refers to this stuff here. Alright. Into I, for I equals 0, I is less than, well, what's the end of a C string? That's when S bracket I is the null character. That's the definition of a C string. Okay, so this is sort of cryptic, but what do? You set I equal to 0, and then you check the condition. Is the 0th character equal to the null string? If it's not, you do the function body, which is just the next statement. I don't have curly braces, so it's just the next statement. I have an empty statement. It doesn't do anything, but then I increase I. Check this condition. Did I find the null character? Increase I. Repeatedly do that over and over again. So I could say here, the length of that word is let's say hello. 5 characters. Then if I wanted to, I could do tell you what it is in uppercase. In uppercase, that is and what I'll do is I'll have a function that says convert to upper message. Convert to upper, I'll make that function up here. When you're making a function, you have to say what's the return type. I'm not going to return anything down here, so I'll say void. Name of the function should match. And then parameters. Here I'm passing in a character string. If you're passing in a character string, call it whatever you want up here. Put the brackets to say it's an array. And you don't have to say how many there are going to be, because it's just going to be pointing back to the same thing here. Now in here, how about we'll do a while loop. Let's use a for loop. We've been doing for loops. So we want to go I equals 0. I is less than the length of s, I plus plus. That means I will go from 0 up to the last character in this string. Each one, what I want to do is potentially change it to uppercase. So if s bracket I is lowercase, and because of the way the ASCII table is arranged, it's lowercase if the place in the ASCII table is between the A and the Z. It's less than Z and greater than A. This particular character that I'm looking at, s bracket I. So if it is lowercase, then I want to make it uppercase. And how do I do that? Well, here's something weird. What is the value of s bracket I minus lowercase a? If s bracket I is a, then that's 0. It would be just little a minus little a, which is 0. And now I'd add on capital A, which would make it capital A. What if s bracket I is lowercase b? Lowercase b minus lowercase a, they're right next to each other in the ASCII table, so that'll be 1. If I add 1 to uppercase a, that's uppercase b. So this here actually converts it to uppercase. Alright, I have my string. How long is my string? Convert to upper message. Normally when you pass something into a function, it just lives inside the function. Whatever this variable is just lives here. But for arrays, whatever this s is, it's really referring back to this message. That's the way arrays work. Let's verify that by running it. There, it converted to uppercase. Now, if you want a while loop, we could do this whole thing while string when to end equals, say, end. Okay, so while the message is not equal to when to end. Remember with C++ strings, you can compare them with equal, equal, or not equal. With C strings, you can't. But if one of the things here is a C++ string, then I can compare it with not equal, and it'll be true or false depending whether the words are the same word. And then I'll say here, tell me a word, end to stop. Type end to stop the program. What this will do is, first time through, it'll check is message equal to end. Probably not, but just to make sure we could do this. That sets message equal to an empty string to start off with. As long as they haven't typed end, we'll do this. If we want to make it look a little bit nicer, we can put an extra end line in. Let's try it out. Hello, goodbye. And it does both of those because remember the way cin works is it just takes up to a space. Hi there, so it does the hi and the there separately. And if I say good end, it does the good and it should do the end. And it didn't. I'm going to Control C to kill this. Control C. Alright, what happened? I'm testing to see if it's equal to end. When I type end here, it goes into message, and then I convert it to be uppercase. So I really need to check. By the time we get up to the check up here, it's uppercase. So I should be checking against uppercase end. Recompile, run it again, say sum end. It did sum, it did end, it's uppercase end, and I'm checking for it now, so I'm okay. While loop, you have some Boolean condition that you want to go until. As long as this condition is true, you keep doing what's inside of here. Hopefully what's inside of here will eventually make this condition false, because if the condition never is going to end up being false, then you have an infinite loop. Alright, there's your extra couple of examples with for loops and while loops. For more, see the book, see the internet.